Hello, my friends. Today is November 1st, 2025, and this is another update on the situation in Ukraine. Over the past 24 hours, a number of developments have taken place that could significantly change the picture on several fronts. The battle map keeps shifting, and most of the movement now comes from the Pokrovsk-Mirnohrad area and the southern part of the Zaporizhzhia front. Let's begin with the most intense and dramatic episode. Pokrovsk, where the Ukrainian side launched yet another desperate counterattack. Late last night, a video spread across the internet and quickly drew attention. It shows a Black Hawk helicopter flying at extremely low altitude, dropping off a Ukrainian Special Forces team on the northwestern edge of Pokrovsk. According to Kyiv-based sources, that team was acting deep behind Russian lines. Its goal, to reclaim the northern districts of the city. The first Ukrainian reports sounded triumphant. They claimed that the strike team had destroyed Russian positions and retaken Pokrovsk. But as so often happens, the real picture turned out very different. Almost immediately after those clips appeared, new footage surfaced from Russian sources. It continued where the Ukrainian recording stopped, showing FPV drones locking onto the same landing zone and striking the soldiers who had just disembarked. According to the geolocated fragments, the entire Ukrainian operation collapsed within minutes. Most of the landing party was eliminated almost instantly. Even the light armored vehicles that tried to cover them were hit and disabled. Objective control data show the helicopter dropped the group near the industrial zone and a gas station northwest of the city. Their mission was to seize the Elektrodvihun plant and create a short-lived supply corridor for the remaining Ukrainian troops still holding the northern blocks. Those sites mattered. From there they could keep the Pokrovsk-Hryshyn road under fire and delay the Russian advance for at least a few hours. But the outcome was the opposite. Once the assault group was destroyed, Russian aviation entered the area, delivering precision strikes across the same sector. By morning, the streets around the gas station and the factory were completely under Russian control. Later footage of shelling near Hryshyn confirmed that Russian forces were already pushing deeper, consolidating the gain. Independent mapping services also registered a clear shift of the front line further south. 2 Black Hawk helicopters took part in the mission, flying in low from the direction of Hryshyn. One managed to retreat, the second, according to several sources, was damaged during the engagement. Kyiv denies the loss, but no proof was presented to support its version, as usual. At this stage, Pokrovsk can be described as almost fully encircled. Russian units now hold over 60% of the city. Heavy fighting continues only in the northern and central districts, while the southern neighborhoods, Lazurny, Shaktyorsky, and Solnechny, have been cleared and are firmly under Russian control. According to reports from the ground, mop-up operations are still underway, but organized Ukrainian resistance there has already ceased. The situation in Mirnohrad, which adjoins Pokrovsk almost seamlessly, remains equally tense. Russian forces are moving gradually toward what locals call the Mirnohrad Citadel, the central zone filled with multi-story residential blocks and administrative buildings. That is where the remnants of the Ukrainian units, withdrawn from the south, have now entrenched themselves. Precision airstrikes continue across that area, including the use of guided aerial bombs. With each passing day, the corridor around Mirnohrad narrows. The narrow strip through which Ukraine used to send reinforcements and ammunition is now under constant fire. In reality, the defense here is collapsing. Some Ukrainian officers, quoted anonymously by Western outlets, admit that communication with a number of battalions has been lost and supply lines have completely failed. Taken together, Pokrovsk and Mirnohrad are turning into a single operational pocket fully dominated by Russian forces. The advance is not limited to the cities themselves. It continues toward the nearby settlements of Ro, Danilivka, and Hryshyn. According to updated maps, Russian troops have widened their zone of control around Ro. Its central part is now almost surrounded. Fighting continues on the western edge along Schmidt Street, where Ukrainian units are attempting to cling to the ruins. A separate video from this same area drew attention as well. It shows another attempt by Ukrainian special forces to repeat the helicopter tactic. This time, the aircraft escaped, but the entire landing team was wiped out within minutes by FPV drones. Analysts estimate that the group consisted of roughly 10 elite soldiers. and their loss demonstrates the growing desperation of the Ukrainian command, which is now acting without reserves or accurate reconnaissance. Overall, the Pokrovsk direction has become one of the main priorities for Russia's Vostok grouping. The strategic goal is visible: to complete the encirclement and clearing of all settlements south of Pokrovsk, then move toward the Mirnohrad-Novo-Ekonomichny line, a corridor that opens the route deeper into the Dnipropetrovsk region. The situation there clearly shows that the Ukrainian army is losing logistical control. Supply roads are broken, bridges and crossings are under constant fire, and what remains of the defense is held by scattered groups that receive neither rotation nor reinforcement. Pokrovsk and Mirnohrad are no longer just points on the map. They have become symbols of a turning moment. A week ago, analysts still spoke of disputed areas. Today, the evidence is plain. The Russian army controls the majority of the urban agglomeration. After the events in Pokrovsk and Mirnohrad, attention has gradually shifted south, to where some of the fiercest fighting continues around Uspenivka and the fortified line leading toward Huliaipol. Here, at the junction between the Zaporizhzhia and Huliaipol sectors, a new center of gravity has been forming for weeks. Russian forces are methodically tightening the ring, advancing from the southeast and the northern approaches at the same time. Just a few days ago, battles were still limited to the outskirts of Uspenivka. Now reports confirm a slow but steady push into the very center of the settlement. The southern and southeastern blocks have already been cleared. In objective control footage, we can see precision artillery and guided bomb strikes hitting Ukrainian positions. Several buildings that served as ammunition depots and observation posts have been completely destroyed. Logistics to Uspenivka have effectively collapsed. Until recently, the Ukrainian army used a dirt road through Yablokov to move supplies and equipment. That route is now under Russian physical control. The northern approaches are under direct fire, and the western road has also come within range of Russian artillery. The only remaining path, a narrow field road, is being shelled day and night by mortars and FPV drones. In practice, the town is encircled. Based on experience from previous battles, analysts believe the clearing of Uspenivka will be completed within the next 5 to 7 days. Once that happens, the front here will level out, and the route toward Huliaipol will open entirely. Progress is visible elsewhere too. Near Malinivka, Russian troops have entrenched themselves on new positions to the west, expanding their control zone. Just yesterday, the area near Poltavka was confirmed as secured, and now the front line has stabilized along the Yamchur River. That river once marked a major defensive line for the Ukrainians, but recent strikes have pushed them out of their fortified points. Active assaults continue toward Vesele, Zeleny High, and Vysoke. According to several field reports, these are now among the most casualty-heavy sections for Ukrainian forces. Units that had held the first line of defense are retreating deeper inland, abandoning vehicles and ammunition. Multiple strongpoints have already fallen under Russian control, while reconnaissance teams move forward, checking for mines and hidden ambushes. Another significant success came with the capture of Novovasilivske. This settlement, long used by Ukraine to protect the southern gateway to Huliaipol, is now entirely in Russian hands. The advance there measured roughly 500 meters, but its impact is strategic. It opens access to the cluster of farms and storage areas lying north of the main road. Those farming complexes were turned into fallback positions by Ukrainian troops, yet they are now under constant drone surveillance. Every vehicle movement is detected, and counterfire follows within seconds. A similar picture emerges near Krasnohorske. During the past 24 hours, Russian units captured another sector of ground together with adjacent farmlands, extending control all the way to the Yamchur. This allowed the front to straighten, depriving Ukraine of flexibility and preventing the transfer of reserves between sectors. Particular attention should be paid to the fate of Lyman. The settlement has been completely cut off from resupply. Observers report that Ukrainian troops stationed there have either withdrawn or been eliminated. There were only a few streets to defend, and by the time this report was recorded, Lyman was most likely already under Russian control. Meanwhile, further east, on the Dnipropetrovsk direction, which is gradually merging with the Zaporizhzhia sector, significant changes are unfolding. Yesterday, confirmation arrived that Novoalexandrivka is now firmly held by Russian forces. Videos showing the raising of Russian flags and the presence of troops have been verified by multiple sources, including official ones. The advance here reached up to 4 kilometers, bringing the line close to the Ukrainian fortification belt, which is marked on maps as a chain of yellow lines. Those defensive positions are now being stormed in sequence. Russian assault groups operate from several approaches, while precision airstrikes target the Ukrainian rear. Reports mention destroyed temporary deployment sites near Tika, Aristopol, and Velikomikhylivka. In Levadna, a guided bomb strike hit a concentration of personnel. Along the entire arc from Orikhiv to Huliapol, drone activity remains extremely high. This is a true FPV duel between both sides. Every meter of open ground is watched, and every moving vehicle risks immediate attack. Yet the balance is shifting. Russian drones operate more precisely, coordination has improved, and ammunition supply is stable. An interesting situation persists around Stepnohursk. Ukrainian sources insist that the town is fully under their control, but they have provided no proof, no images, no geolocated footage. Russian sources, on the contrary, have shown videos of their units advancing and claim that the fighting is still ongoing. Thus, the line here remains contested. Both sides strike constantly, but neither holds a decisive advantage. Still, the general trend is unmistakable. The initiative lies with Russian forces. They are expanding the controlled territory methodically, pushing the opponent back and drawing ever closer to Huliapol. Once Uspenivka is cleared, the front will inevitably shift westward, placing heavy pressure on the entire Ukrainian defensive network across central Zaporizhzhia. Viewed in a broader context, it is clear that the Huliapol direction is becoming a key part of the wider operation. From this axis, the road opens toward Polohi and Tokmak, both critical hubs. If current momentum continues, the coming weeks may bring a full transformation of this entire segment of the contact line. Moving gradually north, after the stabilization of the southern line, activity has intensified on the Constantinovka sector. Here, Russian assault groups continue to advance in small formations, clearing settlement after settlement. During the past day, several reports confirmed that parts of the area near Pleshchivka have come under Russian control. It is a modest but important gain. The front line has shifted westward, creating pressure on Predtekine and on Konstantinovka itself. For a long time, Pleshchivka remained a grey zone. 2 weeks ago, Russia's Ministry of Defense had already declared it captured, yet no proof appeared. Now geolocated videos show Russian soldiers in the streets and abandoned Ukrainian vehicles, clear evidence that control has changed hands. A similar situation is developing around Predtekine, where fighting remains positional, though the overall dynamic favors Russian consolidation. Inside Konstantinovka, the situation is tense. Eastern districts have been under Russian control for several weeks. Step by step, units move deeper into the city, relying on their superiority in artillery and air support. Ukrainian formations still hold the western blocks, but their losses are mounting and supplies are thin. As analysts note, the question is no longer if the city will fall, but when, either through withdrawal or block-by-block clearing. Further north, on the Siversk direction, Russian reconnaissance and drone activity has sharply increased. Every week, the signs of preparation for a broader offensive become clearer. Russian troops are now assaulting the settlement of Uspenivka, while simultaneously advancing along the main supply highway that links Sloviansk and Lyman with Siversk. A look at the map reveals how fragile Ukraine's position here really is. The entire defense of the Siversk grouping depends on that single supply line. The southern road running through Reznikovka and Sviato-Pokrovsk, as well as the route via Yampil and Platonivka, are already within Russian fire control. Should Russian forces cut or physically seize these arteries, the Ukrainian troops inside Siversk would be effectively surrounded. Intense clashes are also reported near Zakotne and Platonivka, while between Kuzminivka and Vyemka, Russian assault teams are clearing a small salient previously held by Ukrainian forces. The gain there is around 500 meters, but its tactical value is far greater. It straightens the line and forms a base for a possible encirclement of Siversk in the near future. Turning to the Krasny Lyman sector, there are no dramatic shifts yet. But fighting remains fierce. The main engagements unfold near Yarova, Novoselivka, and Drobyshiv. Russian troops keep pressing the Ukrainian defense, attempting to push it away from Lyman itself. Several counterattacks launched by Kyiv's forces have failed, with reconnaissance confirming destroyed positions and retreating units. Lyman continues to serve as a vital node in Ukraine's defense network here. Earlier footage already showed Russian troops on the eastern outskirts of the city. At present, the line of contact passes through the surrounding forests, dense terrain where both sides rely heavily on drones. This territory is essentially a grey zone. No one fully controls it, but Russian troops are gradually expanding their presence. Further east, on the Kupiansk front, combat intensity remains high. The central and southern parts of Kupiansk are scenes of constant firefights. Some pro-Russian reports state that Russian units have taken Sadov, located south of the city, though official confirmation has yet to appear. If proven, such a gain would mean Kupiansk is partially encircled. Yesterday's updates also noted another pocket east of the city, now completely under Russian control. The line there has stabilized, while Ukrainian forces suffered heavy losses. Battles continue near Kurilivka and Kupiansk-Uzlovyi, where Ukrainian units are trying to hold railway junctions and river crossings. The adjacent Veliky Burluk area shows a similar picture. Attacks occur near Kolodjazne and Dvurichanske, yet neither side has achieved progress. The front has barely moved, though shelling and reconnaissance raids persist day and night. In Vovchansk, the fighting remains especially bitter. Clashes take place in the city center and nearby villages, Vovchansky Khutori and Sinelnikova. A Ukrainian attempt to launch a counterattack ended in disaster. Its assault group was annihilated, leaving the existing Russian positions intact. The front there is stable, but the attrition is relentless. On the Lipsy direction, little has changed. Around Hlybok, Lukyantsy, and Zeline, daily exchanges of artillery fire continue, while to the south, near Slobozhanske, operators from both sides engage in constant FPV drone duels. This sector has seen no real movement for months, a frozen confrontation where technology decides each skirmish. And finally, the Sumy sector. Here too, the map shows no major alterations. There are ongoing artillery strikes and small unit raids, but the line of contact stands firm. Ukrainian troops shell Russian positions near Novonikolaivka, Vorozhba, and Yunakivka, while Russian artillery responds against Sadki, Marina, Andriivka, and Kondrativka. Yesterday, Ukraine attempted another assault toward Konstantinovka, hoping to retake lost ground. The operation ended in failure. All assault groups were destroyed by Russian FPV drones. Kyiv claimed a 1.5-kilometer advance, yet the terrain in question remains a grey area under no one's firm control. Taken together, the picture across the northern fronts is becoming clear. The line is shifting, slowly but steadily, in Russia's favor. The advance is deliberate, not rushed, aimed not at flashy breakthroughs, but at grinding down defenses and cutting supply arteries. This methodical pressure erodes the opponent's endurance, more effectively than any quick offensive could. As we sum up the first days of November, one thing becomes clear. The front line is changing, quietly but relentlessly. Positions that only a few months ago were considered unbreakable are now little more than intermediate lines, abandoned without a fight. Ukraine is losing territory not through sudden collapse, but step by step, like sand slipping through the fingers. There is a pattern in this. For too long, Kyiv's strategy relied on appearances, on the image of resilience rather than the substance of it. The result is now visible. Entire towns have turned into grey zones, places without command or communication, where only silence remains between sporadic bursts of fire. Pokrovsk, Mirnohrad, Uspenivka. These names once symbolized defensive pride, positions to be held at any cost. Today they are under Russian control, and every new update to the map confirms that reality without fanfare. But this phase of the war is no longer about territory alone. It has become a slow dismantling of a system. The logistical, political, and psychological framework that kept the Ukrainian defense running. Across every sector, from Kherson to Kupiansk, the same pattern emerges. Pressure not only through fire, but through time. When supply lines break, When confidence fades, when orders lose their meaning, the battle is already half lost. Everything suggests that this moment is now approaching. Russian forces continue to expand their footholds, straighten the line, and cut off transport corridors. The fighting remains hard, often house by house, sometimes for a single yard, yet the forward motion does not stop. The nature of the conflict has changed. There are no longer sweeping offensives or theatrical breakthroughs, but rather the cold, measured work of a military machine that advances every day. In the north, near Siversk and Kupiansk, Ukrainian units still hold their ground, though their strength is visibly waning. In the south, along Zaporizhzhia and Dnipropetrovsk, the Kyiv front is beginning to sink under its own weight. Any new Russian advance here could have strategic consequences reaching far beyond the region itself. And when you look at these maps, watching day after day as new patches of red appear, you start to recognize something timeless. History, as always, repeats. Some lose their cities, others reclaim them. But one thing never changes: the determination of those who move forward and the exhaustion of those who retreat. Today, on November 1st, the front moves quietly. No loud declarations, no celebratory speeches, only the steady rhythm of men who know their purpose. Our task is to observe, to analyze, and to remember that behind every arrow on the map stand real people, those who advance and those who wait for them at home. Thank you, my friends, for staying with me today. Your support helps keep this channel alive and independent. Take care of yourselves, and until next time.